Good morning. My name is Mark Silver, and today I'm going to be presenting on an extremely important topic for criminal defense lawyers, and that is domestic violence as intimate terrorism. That is, I want to look specifically at how criminal defendants who are accused of defending themselves against attackers within the home, and predominantly spouses, experience complex and overwhelming trauma as a result of various kinds of abuses. The idea here is to understand the experience of the victim within the home, and therefore to understand in what ways that victim interacts with the abuser, in what ways the victim suffers long-term psychiatric issues, and in what ways the victim is fundamentally changed emotionally, neurologically, interpersonally, and otherwise. The book I have is called Handbook of Mitigation in Criminal and Immigration Forensics, subtitled Humanizing the Client Towards a Better Legal Outcome. And what kind of client needs to be humanized more than this kind of client? An individual who has suffered systemic abuses within the home and now is trying to defend himself or herself because they have been accused of self-defense. Domestic violence is pernicious, it is extremely serious, but most importantly, it's secretive. That is, the vast majority of abuse that occurs within the home is unknown outside of the four walls of the house or the apartment. It's usually unknown by family members externally, or even school, workplace, and friendships, and so on. And what we're going to try to do today is look within the home, take the roof off of the home, peer inside, and try to understand what the experiences would be like of the individual. On this note, I also wrote a book, it's actually a novel, called The Arranged Marriage. It was published in 2017. It's based on hundreds and hundreds of immigration cases that I've done for spousal abuse victims. And I collapsed these cases into a novel. And it may be very useful for criminal defense lawyers because it really looks at an individual's experience within the home, the kinds of abuses that they suffer, and more importantly, how they're thinking about themselves, how their interpersonal relationships, their self-esteem, and so on becomes quite pathological. I've done about 2,000 cases at this point, many involving abuse and trauma, particularly spousal abuse cases, as I noted, asylum cases, U-visa cases, complex trauma, and personal injury. And all of these involve, in various ways, investigating harm. And of course, spousal abuse victims fundamentally have suffered a wide range of harm within the home. I want to talk about the outline. We're going to look at types of abuses that the victim suffers. Then we're going to look at complex trauma. We're going to look at complex trauma as a conceptual framework to understand the kinds of harms that the spousal abuse victims suffer within the home. Then specific mental health problems. And lastly, although we won't review it, I want to leave it here for your review. I've written out a set of questions that I ask in my evaluations to understand holistically what the victim has suffered.